Okay, so what we have here is, so on that day we were covering visual force. So what is a visual force? Visual force is a scripting language like an HTML which is used to design the web pages. I have already uploaded all the previous videos. If you still think there is a particular video that you are missing, please let me know, because I think from my side, I think I've uploaded everything so far that we have covered, including the last lecture. So if you think there is something that I've been missing or anything, then please let me know about that. Okay. So next thing that we're going to go ahead and do today is we're going to go ahead and do a lot more, learn about different tags that are available in the Visualforce language. So let's go back to the place we already were. It's simple. So last time we were talking about there are some of the global values that are available. So we don't need developer console. Let's see which all Visualforce pages we have. So we'll just go ahead and click on this one. And these are the pages we created, the picker and hello. So if you want to access a particular page, you can always go ahead and get this URL on the top and then /epics, and then you can say whatever the name of the page is. Okay, this is only possible if your developer mode is available. Okay, so right now developer mode is enabled, so that's why you can see we have some changes. And if you want to make any changes, you just click on this thing here on that file name, and now you can see that, okay, this is the editor. You can write right here, you can edit things. Okay, so we were at this place, we were talking about there are some of the variables that are available, just like if you want to calculate what is today's date or those kind of thing. Okay, so we will go ahead, and if you wanted to, let's say, fetch today's date, so there is a function available in it which is called as the today. Okay, so so this is whatever you write in these curly braces is called as an expression. Okay, and what do we mean by an expression? Expression means the value of that thing will be calculated at when you run this. Okay, so right now if I want to display today's date, so there is a function available, and you have to use an exclamation mark. Only with this user object you have to use a $sign, but rest of the expressions you just need a exclamation mark here. Okay, so now there is a function available to calculate the today's date, and you can just go ahead and call that function. Okay, so you don't have to create your own to create your own from the scratch. You can just use today's date, and in a lot of application you will need it. So let's say send an email notification after 15 days, the day of creation. And let's say, what is the day of the creation? The date, today's date is the date of the creation. So then you will need in those kind of scenarios. Okay, if you wanted to store current date of the system or something like that, then you will need the today's date. And next thing is, out of this today's date, if you right now it gives you in the whole this particular format with the date, and then we have GMT extensions, and then the year. So let's say out of this expression, I'm not interested in the whole thing, I'm just interested in the today's year. So how you can do that? If you want the year, just the year, then you can just go ahead and say year here, and then you can just use the same expression, and you basically, instead of the whole today's year, you can just represent it as today. Okay, so from this one, so you have closed this. So this is year, then you have is the today's, and this is, you can just going to give you the today's year. Okay, so now if I go back here and run this, you will see, let me go ahead and give a break here. So you'll see that there is a year is 2016. Okay, so now this is if you wanted to calculate the today's date. If you wanted to calculate the particular day, then you will be always, you can just say instead of the year you can say day here, and then you can here say exclamation mark. Now it's very simple, you can just have to say day, okay, and then you can say today and close this one. You can use a break. Break is nothing but the next line, okay. Don't write in the same line, put it in the next line. So now you can get, if you want a month, that's very simple, just do the month here. So here also you can say exclamation mark, month, and then you have today, close this one, and then you're going to go ahead and get the month, okay. So if you wanted to, instead of in this format, if you wanted to do in another format, you can always guess, you can say that today's date is, okay, you can say here is, you can use this expression, exclamation mark, day would be, let's say month would be first, so we're going to go ahead and display the month, okay. You can say plus, give some space here, plus, okay, if you wanted to display, let's say I want to display this expression here, and then let's say if you wanted to display something else, let's say you want to display the day today, so you can just go ahead and say this one, and then if you wanted to display the so it says, let me go ahead. Yeah, I think I have to use the, let's just leave it. Yeah, let's just leave this. But you can do like, you can get it here and say 7th month of something here if you wanted to go ahead and display, and then the year. So this is for to calculate the, these are the different functions that are available. Let's say you have a list of numbers, okay, and in those list of numbers you wanted to calculate the maximum or the minimum, then also you can do it, okay. So how you can do that? So here, let's say you have a okay, if you wanted to say the maximum, and you have a list, okay, so you can just call, this is an expression, there is a function available called max, and whatever the list that you have, you can always provide that list here. You can say 78, 90, 30, 56, 77, okay. So what is the maximum here? 90 is the maximum, okay. So if you wanted to go ahead and display, it'll give you 90 here, okay. And similarly, if you wanted to calculate the minimum, there is a minimum function available too. You don't have to, you just have to call that. Here we can say minimum, and here it would be min, okay. So you're going to get the maximum and the minimum here. Now there is another one, these are just the basic functions. If you wanted to calculate the square root, means if the square root of 49 is 7, square root of 25 is 5, square root of 144 is 12, okay. So let's, we have to calculate the square root, then you can just always go ahead and say break here, and the next is so what is that? This just, you have to use an expression, because if you want to evaluate something, this is the way to write it, okay. Expression, exclamation mark, and then you have to use this, whatever the function is, sqrt, that is the square root, and then if you wanted to calculate of 49, you can just go ahead and display which square root you want, okay. So that's going to give you, if you wanted to calculate or something else, you can always go ahead and replace it with those particular numbers. So here if I want 25, it's going to give me the square root of 25. If you want to have a breakpoint here, break here, you can always go ahead and do a break. So now the square root of 25 is 5.0. So this is what we have is the these are the simple functions that you're going to go ahead and use. Now, if you remember in our Apex programming, you have a if-else block, right? If-else was basically if this is true, then this part of the code will run, else the other part of the code will run. Similarly, you have something as well here too. So let's say if you wanted to go ahead and display that, those are called as conditions. Okay, so sometimes if you want to display something dynamically based on the value of the expression, for example, if you have, let's say we created an invoice which does not have any line items. Remember we had a project here with the invoice, line items, orders, etc. So if you, let's say you wanted to, if you have an invoice with the no line items, you wanted to display something else, and if you have, then you want to display something else. So based on what is the what are the line items for that invoice, you have different expressions or different values. Let's say if it is if it's a weekend, you want to do something else. If it's a weekday, you want to do something else. So basically what is an expression evaluates to, you have to do something based on the value of that expression. Okay, so you have those things. For example, here, let me just get rid of this whole thing to avoid the confusion. So now here, if you go ahead and say expression, so if it asks you, if let's say this is the one that I wanted to go ahead and display. So let's say there is a word called Salesforce. Okay, if the Salesforce contains the letter force in it, which it does. Okay, if this contains a letter, so if this particular word Salesforce, you can see there is a function available. This function is available for a string expression. If you wanted to calculate if Salesforce contains this word called force, then what you want to display, you wanted to display hello Deepika. Okay, and otherwise you can just say hi guys. So now what do you think will be the value of this expression? So the value of this expression is going to be based upon, so let's say you have this one, let me go ahead and close this one also. So basically this is for this closing circular braces for this one, and then this one, and for this one we have this closing one. Okay, so now let me increase the size here. So what I'm doing is there is a function available, and which basically looks for this particular word, does it contains the letter force in it. If this expression comes out to be true, okay, if this is the expression that we're evaluating, if this expression comes out to be true, then what happens, this particular part of the program will be evaluated, otherwise this gonna go ahead and evaluate it. So right now it display hello Deepika because this thing came out to be true. Okay, so this thing got printed. If this thing was false, this thing, if let's say I put a letter 8 in it here, so you know that the Salesforce does not contain something with the number called 8. So this whole thing is, this particular expression evaluates to be false. So what will happen here is then this particular part of the program will be displayed. Okay, so now you can see this is what it is very similar to using an if else. If this expression is true, the if part of the program is going to execute. If the other part of if it's true, then the other part of the program will get evaluated. Okay, so that is called as the if else expression. So did you understood here? What we did is we have this word here and we are checking for if this particular word contains these particular letters. If it does, then display this thing. If it does not, then display the other thing here. Okay, now so just remember, anything which has a question, this exclamation mark, that is called as the that we call it as an expression. Okay, any questions so far, guys? Okay, so the next thing that we have here is, it's very simple. The next thing what we have here is we're going to talk about the standard controller. Now, what do you mean by standard controllers? So you know that Salesforce comes with a list of standard objects, right? So if the Salesforce comes with a list of standard objects, like we have account, then we have contacts, opportunities, etc., etc., right? So similarly, there is something called as the controllers. Controllers means they know about that particular object. Okay, it's like a controller is nothing but they will have information about what account object is, what does it contain, what are the fields of that account object, how to display those. So they have all that information. Okay, so all these, so there are some standard controllers and they have information about account object. Okay, they won't have information about any other, because the standard controller for each of these different standard objects, we have a standard controller which you do not have to write. You just need to call those controllers. If you need anything from account object, you just need to call those controllers. Okay, so let me give you a simple example here. So let's say you have something called as, everything starts with an apex page. There is an attribute available called standard controllers. It takes that which controller are you interested to use. Okay, so that takes a list, that takes a particular name of that standard controller. Okay, now here, so see, once we did standard controller, it took us to this account page automatically. Okay, it took us to this account page. Now if I go ahead and do something else here, let's say if I say contact, it knows which one we are talking about. Okay, so now it automatically have information. It knows, okay, we're talking about this account object or we're talking about this one. Similarly, if you go ahead and change this to so let's just go ahead and do hello here. I think that was a page. What was it called? Typical. Okay, so they know about it. Similarly, you have it for opportunities as well. Okay, so these are the different standard controllers that are available. Okay, so now let's go back to the account object. So they know everything about this account object, what it is there, what are the fields they have. Okay, and if you wanted to fetch a particular record, you can go ahead and do it. Okay, so now let's say inside of this particular account object, I wanted to display something called as you are viewing account dot of name account. Okay, so right now you're viewing this particular account, but this particular thing is not getting replaced because you're not seeing any account, because you're not kind of giving them the ID of a particular account. For example, each of the account records have a particular ID. Now, what do you mean by that? For example, if you, let's say you click on this account, United Oil and Gas at Singapore. If you go ahead and click on this, you will see that in the URL, it has something like this. Okay, it is a unique ID for each of the account object. If each of the account record has a particular unique ID. So here, if you wanted to go ahead and display a particular account information, you can just say ID is equals to that particular value, and now it will get, so it knows that we are talking about this account object. Okay, we're talking about this account object. Now, instead of using this particular, so basically you just have to use a question mark. This is called a query param. Okay, query parameters. So you're passing those parameter values here. So you're passing the value of ID here. So with this particular ID, you can fetch that record. Okay, because this particular ID is unique for each and every record. So if you wanted to access a particular account record, you just need to provide the ID, and using that ID you can get any kind of information related to the account. For example, in my account object, if you go back here and you wanted to view some fields here, let's say I wanted to display account number. So you just need to go ahead and copy these information here. Let's say you wanted to display account number. So you can say account number, just use that expression account dot of So how it is possible, because you're using this standard controller, so it knows which account object are we talking about. Okay, if we did not have the standard controller, then it does not know what we are talking about. Okay, so here let me go ahead and get rid of this. So this is the account name, this is the account number. If you want any other fields, account source, if you want revenue, if you wanted to go ahead and display, you can always go ahead and display any field related to that particular account object. Okay, so it will tell you right now the value is empty, that's why it is displaying you an empty number. Okay, now here if you wanted to display anything else, so now it's going to give you a fax number. So any field, if you want to access of that particular account, you're going to get it. Now let's say instead of giving this particular ID, if you give any other ID of the account, then what will happen? It is going to go ahead and give you the information related to that. So you just go ahead and copy this ID here and replace it with this particular ID. Then what's going to happen is it's going to give you the information related to that account. Now instead of giving an account ID, let's say you gave a contact ID, and let's see what happens. What happens then if you give a ID which is related to a different object. Okay, so now if I go ahead and this is a particular contact object and we are talking about an account object. Now if you try to access something like this, it was going to give you an error that's saying, okay, this is not valid for the account standard controller. Okay, we are trying to access a contact record with the contact ID, and you are using a controller which of type account. Account has no information about contacts. Account only knows how to access his own fields. Account knows whatever you want to do with the account object. Okay, so that is what this account object is going to throw you an error if you're using a different one. So here, if let's say I wanted to go ahead and let me just go back here and let's just go ahead and get this particular ID, and let's say if you want to display everything related to that particular account. So you don't have to go ahead and write each and every individual field to access every field of the account. You can just go ahead and say here there's a tag available called Apex Detail tag. Okay, and this particular tag will be what it will do. It will go ahead and give you every information related to the account object. So this just gives you everything that particular account record has. Are you following, guys, here? So this particular one, what it is, it's going to give you everything related to that particular account object. With this is the name of the, so it looks very similar to this particular view. Okay, so what we did is we don't have to individually go ahead and write each and every field. There is a particular element available or tag available which is called Apex Detail tag, and this particular Apex Detail tag is basically going to give you the detailed view with just using this tag, and you will get the whole detailed view of that particular object. Okay, so now let's say, so this is about the, if you want, these are these different standard controllers. Now let's say in the standard controllers, these, what are the related list. Related list is nothing but all this particular account object is related with contacts, means there is a relationship between the account and contact. There is a relationship between opportunities and accounts, cases and accounts, everything. So this is nothing but the related list of that particular account object. Okay, now if you wanted to just display this particular account information without providing the related list, so you can go ahead and there is an attribute available for this Apex Detail page, and if you go ahead and see, this is that particular attribute. If you set this related list to false, now what's going to happen here is it's going to go ahead and display only that account information, but it will not display the related list information like contacts and opportunities, etc., etc. Okay, so it will not go ahead and display you the related objects. It will only go ahead and display you the account information. Okay, so this is the another thing that we have. Now let's say you have created this particular page here called the picker. Okay, and you wanted to make sure that every time I access an account object, I do not want to see this particular page. I wanted to see my page that I created. You know what I'm saying? So let's say if you click on a particular record, this is what the page looks like right now, which will give you all these information. It will give you the detail page, because you just have to remember, guys, it's account detail, the tag is detail. Okay, apex detail. So that's easy to remember. And right now it displays you the related list labels and all that kind of stuff. Let's say instead of that, you want to display your own page, and the page that I have is this one, and I can say some information. Hello. So you can say welcome, guys, welcome. Okay, so right now this is going to give you a welcome message here, and then this is going to give you the detail. And if I wanted to go ahead and now if I wanted to go ahead and replace this account default page with my page, I can always do that. And how you can do it, you basically go ahead and go to this setup here. Go to the setup here. If you scroll down, there is going to be so this is a standard visualforce page. If you wanted to go ahead and get your own visualforce page, you can just pick it up, and then it will only show you the Deepika page. It's not showing you the hello, because Deepika is the only one which is using the standard controller account. Okay, hello is the page is not using any standard controller account. That's why you can only see Deepika here. Go ahead and hit the save button. Now what will happen is, if you go to a particular account object, if you click on it, it will not show you the original page. It will give you the page that we just created, which has a welcome message here, and it does not show any related list information. Okay, so it will give you a welcome message here, and it is going to display your own page. It is not displaying the page that was the standard visualforce page. So how did you do it? So you know which object we're talking about. So we were talking about the account standard controller. So you will have all the list of the standard objects here. You have contacts, opportunities, etc. Under this particular account, you see this button, links, and actions link here. So click on that particular one, and if you scroll down, this is the page that you need to change. Okay, the view of this page. You are trying to change the view of the page. So you went ahead and clicked on this edit button here, and now either you can use the default one, or if you have your own visualforce page, you can go ahead and use it. Okay, overriding the standard buttons and links changes the meaning of the salesforce.com URL or any call to that particular URL. Okay, so now what we have is, let's go back and revert it. Now what will happen is, now we're going to go ahead and see our own original one, which is the standard Salesforce. So now you will get the older view here, whatever was it. So you get those updates here, then you have detail page, and then you have the related list of the related object. Okay, so this is the way if you wanted to replace the existing one with this particular one. Okay, so now let's go ahead and see if, let's say, if you wanted to go ahead and create your own with a different style. Okay, right now you have this particular page here. Let me go back and let's go ahead and change the styling of the page. Okay, so let's go back here. Guys, if you have any questions, please let me know. Okay, are you able to follow me? Is it interesting? Okay, so now what we have is, let's go ahead and we're going to use our standard controller account object. Okay, right now it does not display you anything. And my mom visiting me, so we have to go for some shopping. That's why I wanted to have this class early today and tomorrow as well. Okay, because we have lots to do, so that's why I wanted to have the class early so that we have rest of the day to do our stuff. I hope you don't mind. And it's good for you also, so you get wrapped up and you have the whole weekend to enjoy. You don't have to worry about the class anymore. Okay. So right now it shows you the header information. Let's go ahead and tell them show header is equals to true. By default this is true. Okay, if you don't have to provide this particular thing, it will automatically show you the header. Okay, and there is an attribute available called tab style. Okay, so let's do some styling here. Okay, so the styling that I wanted to do here is, there is a tag available called style. Okay, and so right now you can see the tab color is like whichever is the active tag, it has a blue background to it, right? So what we can do is, if there is a class available, okay, which basically controls this active tab, okay, so this is nothing but the CSS, custom style sheets. Now what are the do you guys know what is a custom style sheet, guys? Do you know what CSS is? Okay, so Priyanka, CSS is, those are called as custom styling of the page. Okay, so let's say you might have seen, okay, let me explain you with going to a particular website. Let's go to a, okay, credit probably. Just give me a name of a particular website. I can show you what a CSS means. So let's say this is a particular website. Okay, now if I go ahead and you wanted to go ahead and look at these developer tools here. Okay, every browser will have this. So on the right hand side, you see this background. These are called the styling of the page. Now, what do you mean by the styling of the page? Let's say right now, if I go ahead and click on one of this element. Okay, and this particular, see, when you active this, you say, okay, the color should be this. So all these things are being, like, you wanted to give some padding here, you wanted to have a space in here, so those are nothing but the styling of the page. Okay, so let's say if I go ahead and get rid of this, now if there is no margin, if there is no padding, what's going to happen is the view of the page is going to go ahead and look little different. Okay, now if I go back here, and if, let's say, if there is a, so it says here, you might go, so these are the different on the right hand side, guys, look at it. On the right hand side, you will see the box sizing is border box. If you just remove the box sizing, what will happen? Let's see. I don't know if I'm able to change it right here on the fly or not. Color. So these are the different classes. Okay, white space. And these are the different classes. Height is 58, so let's say you wanted to change it to 15 pixels. So right now it looks a little bit bigger. You can go ahead and change things, it'll look a little small, so you will see that there is a difference here. Okay, so these are the style sheets of the page, which controls how the page looks like, what should be the background color, how the button should appear, okay, if you hover your mouse, what should be the change in the color, if you are how much distance you need to have it from the top of the page, how much spacing you wanted to give in these. So those things are controlled by the style sheets. Okay, see, you have business logic and everything. That's a whole different thing. How the page looks like, what color you want, what button size you want, what padding you want, what margin do you want, all these things are defined. Those are called the styling of the page. Okay, those are called the styling of the page. So here, if you look at it, it will tell you, okay, the font size should be this, if you look at margin should be this, okay, and background color is this, what alignment should be here, okay, you want something in this particular font, like if you want Times Roman, all those kind of things. So font size is 100%. Okay, if you go ahead and get, so you will see that those things will change, then those will reflect it. Okay, and are you following what I'm trying to say here? So that's called the styling of the page. Those are called the custom style sheets. If you go ahead and look into the code tomorrow, you go ahead and find .css files, and in the .css files you have all the description that, okay, you want this particular bar to look like this, you want this particular font to look like this, you want the heading font to look like this, you want the simple text to look in this size. So those kind of things are controlled by the styling. Those are called the styling of the page. Okay, did you get it? Priyanka, so let's go ahead and give me a website. I can't think of a website. Cricketkarma.com. I don't know if there is one like that. Okay, so this is the blue color here. Let's go ahead and this is the logo. So now this particular one is using this particular element. So if you go ahead and click on this, this is a logo, right? And this is the class that they are using, left bulk. Now if you look this particular class inside of your style sheets, if I go ahead and look for this particular class, so here it tells you, okay, the float, it should be on the left. Let's say I make it on the right. Okay, where is it? Let's go ahead and look at that. Okay, and okay, this is my float is on the left. Let's say if I wanted to change, the width is 39%. If I wanted to change something, you can go ahead and do it. So let's go ahead. Do you see the class anymore? I don't see the class that I have. Okay, so this is the one. Okay, so you go ahead and change it to the right. See, it went to the right side. Okay, now let's go ahead and change the width. So if I go back here, and if you go ahead and change the width to something else, let's say I make it 79% or 99. So you see the width has changed. Okay, so if you want, so that's control the, now margin on the top is 35 pixels. So this is the margin here. Now if you change it to something else, then you're just going to go ahead and display. And now let's say font size is 0. Let's go ahead and make it 15. So now what will happen is you will see the font size has changed. Okay, let me go ahead and change it back again. I might not reflect this particular part here. So blue horse clear after. So that's what was, so this particular logo was getting controlled by this particular class. And in this particular, we looked for this class in our CSS files, means in our style sheets. Okay, so we looked for that particular one, and now you can change. Okay, change it on the float, put it on the right hand side, move width should be 99%. Okay, background is this is a background. So if you look at this particular logo is coming from this particular link. Okay, where is that link? Let me show you. That particular logo is coming from this http dot this particular one. So if you look for this image, you will see that, okay, this is the image. I think I'm not able to might not be able to see it. It's pretty small, baby, that's why. So this is the file, this is that place where it is coming from. Okay, and if you wanted to look for the another image, maybe this, they might have hosted on there. So top center no repeat. So if you wanted to go ahead and remove this top center, it will only on the top of the page. So it'll go ahead and change a couple things here. So you know what I'm saying? So that is what the CSS styling of the page is responsible by the custom style sheets. So what we are trying to do here is, and for each element or for group of elements, see, for all of these elements, they have a common styling, right? All of the tab is in a black color, and all of the size of the font size is also similar. So you basically, you have 10 elements which are the same styling. Okay, so what you can do is you group these elements and you tell them, okay, this, all the styling of these are done by this particular class, and you define that class in which you tell, okay, this is the font size, this is the font color, this is the font the margin of the fonts. These are all the things that you define in that. Okay, so similarly, this active tab is the basically is a class which controls the tab styling. Okay, and this particular class is already being defined in your Salesforce. What you're doing is you're trying to change according to yourself. Okay, according to the basis that you want. Guys, are you following? Abhinav, Ravi, Pranka. I'm waiting on your response. Okay, good. Got it? So this is how you can debug a particular thing. If tomorrow somebody asks you, you know what is a developer tool, how to fix this, how to see what happens when you click on a particular button. You can get that information by clicking on this developer tools. Okay. So you went here, active tab. Here you say, I'm going to change the background color. Okay, so background color, these are called as the hex codes. Okay, for different ones we have different hex codes. So let's say this is this is one hex code here. Okay, and let's say if anything changes, let me see. Okay, if I say color white, did it change anything so far? And this is the active tab, so this is what I'm doing. Color is white. Let me make it to okay. Now next thing is, if you have an inactive tab, so the rest of the tags are inactive tab, and that particular one is controlled by these. So let's go ahead and do a different color here. So let's go ahead and change this one to background color is this, color is yellow, and background image is none. Okay, now what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and use this particular styling to style the page. Okay, so if we go back here, Apex tab panel, So this is going to be controlled by this one, and the inactive one is controlled by this particular one. Okay, and inside of the tab panel, let's go ahead and okay, and let's say you wanted to go ahead and display the client ID is equals to account tab panel and the selected tab. Okay, if this is something that is going to go ahead and do, then I'm going to go ahead and display the details here. Okay, and here you can just go ahead and display your detail of that particular page. Okay, so in that I'm going to go ahead and display the detail page. And here let's go ahead and go to our object. Okay. And let me go ahead and get rid of the related list here. So here we have click to add topics. Let me go ahead and change this is light gray, inactive tab. The pickup ID is equals to whatever the ID that you want to display. You can go ahead and display this particular object. Okay, so now you will see the styling is a little bit different. Let me go ahead and change the background image to none. If it's the background color is, let's say, for inactive tab, and for this is going to be, color is going to be white. So this is the styling, and this styling is being used by this particular tab panel. So we're going to go ahead and add the different tabs here in a minute. So we're going to go back here. We get rid of this. Styling is going to be, active tab is this one. These are the background color we have defined for this particular, this is the name of the class, and these are the, this is what it represents. This is another class, and these are all the different values that it represents. Okay, so this is going to be in the style. Okay, next we have added a tab panel here, and we're saying the switch type is equals to client. So let me go ahead and get this one here. Selected tab is equals to tab details, and ID of the tab is equals to account tab panel, the tab class, this is the active tab class, and this is going to be the inactive tab class. Why does it keep going and changing it to the other one? Maybe this is why it's working like that. Okay, and then you have defined your tab panel here. Inside of the tab, the first tab that I wanted to display is the contacts one. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, and this is the tab that I wanted to display. The name of the tab I wanted to display is, let's say, contacts. Okay, this is the tab that I want to display here. The name of the tab is equals to, the label is this, name is contacts. Okay, ID basically is the unique identifier for that particular tab. Okay, means it's like a unique name that is given to the particular tab. Once I write this program, you'll get a better understanding of it. Okay, and in this one, what I wanted to do, this is my first Apex tab, and you will see that particular tab showing up here, contacts. Okay, this is the particular active tab right now. Okay, so this is the tab here. If I change the active tab color to yellow, let's see what happens here. Okay, so you see that this particular color has been changed here, and the color of the text is right now is white. So what we're going to go ahead and do, we can go ahead and change this to black. So now the font color has changed to black, and so this basically active tab is controlling the tab that is active right now. Okay, so ID is equals to tab contact here, and if you wanted to go ahead and let's go ahead and display the detail of that. Okay, if somebody false okay, so once this is there, it will give you the information about that particular detail of that one. Okay, so if I go back here, okay, so now this particular tab will give you the list of the contacts which are related to this particular ID. Similarly, if I wanted to have some other information here, okay, and let's say here I want opportunities. So if you go ahead and do opportunities here, you're going to get another tab here for the opportunities. Okay, name is going to be equal to opportunities. The ID will also be equal to tab opportunities here. Okay, and let me just go ahead and make it a little small. Okay, the related list that you want to display is, I wanted to display the account, but I wanted to display the opportunities here. Okay, so now you can see that the inactive tab is in the light gray color. Okay, you can change the color to, let's say, blue, so that the inactive tab will look blue here. Okay, the text color is yellow. You can make it black again if you want. Okay, So you can go ahead and there is no background image. So this is the an inactive tab. This is an active tab. Okay, so this is this. So if you go ahead and make it this active or this inactive, so the chain color is going to be changed. Okay, so that is controlled by these stylings. And what you're trying to display here is you have picked up a particular account object and you have created your own custom page here, and you have created your own tab panel, and in that tab panel you've added these two different tabs. Okay, you can add activities tab, etc., etc. If you want, you can add a third tab here as well, which is basically related to the particular, what you can say, related to the activities. So let's say we have open activities here. So let's say this is the next tab that I wanted to add. Okay, and duplicate ID, that's fine. We're going to go ahead and change this to open activities. Okay, and the ID has to be unique for each element. Okay, so tab is going to be open activities. Okay, the related list that I want to display is for the open activities here. So I wanted to go ahead and display the open activities here. So there is going to be a third tab available called open activities. It will give you the activities related to that particular account. Okay, if you want to have any attachments, so you can display all the different tabs that you want that are related list of that account object. So in the account object, guys, you have, these are the related lists. You have contacts, you have opportunities, you have cases, and you have the open activities. So let's say if you want to display the cases, you can just go ahead and copy the same exact tab here, and instead of displaying the, so here you can say cases. Okay, so here you can say cases here you can say cases, tab is going to be cases or case, we can say, and this is going to give you the related list of cases. So now there is another tab available called cases, and it will give you the list of cases for this particular account object. Okay, so let's go through the program one more time. So what I've done here is I have defined that I am using account standard controller, means this is my account object that I'm referring. Show header means the top thing it's going to show you. If you get rid of it, make you a little more clear, this is what's going to get rid of the account object. Okay, and now here you can see that what I'm going to do is I have defined these 4 different tabs here. Before that I've created a tab panel, means the panel which basically contains a bunch of tabs in it. Okay, now here what I've said is if a particular tab is selected, then use this particular class for the styling. Okay, so if this particular tab class that I wanted to use is this active tab. Now where this active tab is here. In this particular active tab, I have defined the background color is yellow, the color of the font is black, and the image is, I'm not using any image. If the particular tab is inactive, then use this particular class for the styling. Okay, so I've pointed that, okay, inactive tab class, this one. Active tab class is this one. Okay, so get the styling from here, and the styling I have defined and using the style attributes. Okay, now ID is basically the unique identifier for this tab panel. So if somebody wants to access the tab panel and you have a unique name for it, that is called as this ID. Okay, and these ID needs to be unique. You cannot have 2 elements with the same ID. Now inside of this tab panel, first thing I said, okay, give me the detail page of that particular account. Okay, this is the whole detail page it gives you here. At this particular, if you see, this is because of this apex detail. So if I go ahead and get rid of this line, then what will happen is the detail information will go. It will only display me whichever tab I'm open. Okay, so that is why. So because I have this detail, it gives me the detail of that particular account object. Okay, now on that I have these tabs defined here. So there I've defined 4 tabs. One is for contacts, one is for opportunities, one is for open activities, one is for cases. So here if you wanted to display something else, you can do, instead of contacts, if you want a different label for it, that is basically controlled this way. Okay, so you can have different name for the label, but the name would be contacts, means name is contacts means the actual contact object that I'm talking about, and you have defined the ID for this, and what you're telling is that for this account, give me the list of contacts. Okay, if you want opportunities, means for this particular account, give me the opportunities. For this particular account, give me the list of open activities. So this is what it is displaying in the tab. And if it is active tab, then it is going to give you the active related to that particular. If it's inactive one, it's going to give you the information related to that. Okay, so now if I go back here, go to the opportunities. Did I change something? Oh yeah, I showed us. It's showing this. It's displaying it here. Related list is false. I think this page didn't got refreshed probably. Yeah, now it got. Let me see. But if I said related list is false, then why didn't it go ahead and do that? So account detail. Did I do something? Let me just go ahead and refresh this page. Yes, did I change anything? Because I was expecting the other result that we saw a little while earlier. Styling is this one. Then you have tab panel, account detail, object is here. Okay, related list is false. If the related list is false, this should not show you this information. I don't know why it is showing you. Let me just get rid of this thing. Okay. Yeah, so now it's working. So you have contacts, opportunities, activities, and cases. Okay, so it gives you these related ones. Color, you can change it because of this. These are the styling. Did you get it what we did here? Any questions on this one? Okay, and you know if you wanted to replace your current account object with this page, how you have to do that. You just need to go ahead and point it to this particular page. So automatically whenever you go to the account, it will display, instead of the standard page, it is going to go ahead and display this particular page. Abhinav and Ravi, are you following? Okay, so the next thing is, where is others? Priyanka is the only one who is listening, or what about Abhinav and Ravi? Are you guys following? Priyanka, are you the only one on the call? Why these people are not responding? Okay, let's go to the next topic. So now what we have here is we're going to go ahead and talk about the input, getting the input from the user. Okay, so to do that, there are a couple of, there is a tag available. Let me just get rid of this whole thing here. And let's say Apex page. and we're going to go ahead and display the standard controller as nothing but the account object is the standard controller that we have here. Close this Apex page. Okay, so now this we're telling that okay, we're using an account object here, and in this particular account object, let's say you wanted to create a form. Form is nothing but where you enter, where you ask the user to enter information. Okay, so let's say first name, last name, account, all that information from the user. So you have it that's called as a form here. So you go ahead and display a particular form, and all the elements must have a closing tag. Tag means this is the backslash reference the close of the particular tag. So inside of this Apex form, let's say I create a page block. Okay, and inside of the page block you have, let's say the title of the page is equals to hello, and if you want to display the username, you know how to do that. You can use this user object and you can display the first name of the user. So you can display something like this, and it's going to go ahead and have a closing tag here. So it's going to say hello Deepika because I am logged in as Deepika Khanna. So now if I go back, this is my page block, and you can see that inside of the page block you have this looks a little bit different. Now if you wanted to display, if you wanted to have a statement displaying this is the account name, so you can say something like you are viewing the account name is this dot of account. So I'm accessing the particular account name. How? Right now, because this is the ID. See, if you get rid of this ID, then you will not see this information because you need to tell which account you're talking about. Okay, so you know it will not give you any account name. But if you provide a particular ID here, it's going to go ahead and fetch the ID, and it's going to fetch the whole record with that ID, and it's going to display the name of that particular account, which is here. It's going to go ahead and display you the name. Now, if you wanted to have an input field, let's say you wanted to go back here and you wanted to display the input field, and in the input field, let's say what is input field means to get the input from the user. That is the purpose of an input field. So you go back here and you say so input field is here. Apex input field value is equals to account dot of name, and now you're closing that particular input. Just happened. Okay, so typical line number 7. This is line number 7. Input field must be followed either by attribute specification. Oh, so now see, you see this thing, now it's an input field. You can go ahead and enter your own value here. Okay, so this is an input field. Okay, so now if I say account, you can say something like break here. See, account name, and then this is the input field that is asking you for putting the account name. So if you, what you do here is, if you, this is the account name information, and let's say you wanted to display account number, anything like that, you can have another input field here to enter the Apex input field. So input field is to get the value of the input field means, let's say you wanted to display the account dot of account number. So this is the input field for the number. So you can go ahead and change it. And let's say if you changed it, you can go ahead and have a button which will basically go ahead and actually saves this. So right now there is no button on the page which actually saves the new name and the new number. So what you can do here is you can add a button here, and to add a particular button, let me go ahead and get rid of this thing. There, this is, let me go ahead and have some, make it a little more clean. To have a break tag here. So now you see this is the place to enter this, and here also let me go ahead and so you're viewing this particular account. This is the account name input field. This is this one, and let me go ahead and have a button here. So to add a button, you can use something like command button. So there is a tag available, apex command button. Okay, this is the place. Now what you wanted to name the button. What is the name on that button? So you can say the name of the button should be save info. This is the name of the button, let's say. So now it is going to have the save info will be the name. Now let's go ahead and have it in a different line. So you can go ahead and have this in a different line. Okay, so save info is in a different line, but now what's happening is this save info is not doing anything, right? When you click on this, it is just a button, but it does not actually save the information. So let's say if I go ahead and say Priyanka, change the account to Priyanka here, and if I go ahead and click on this particular save button, it did not created any account with the name Priyanka, or it did not change the existing one with the Priyanka, right? If you go back to the account list here, and you will not see any Priyanka here, because it did not save anything, because there is no action that we have added. We just say, okay, give, this is like a dummy button here. It is not doing anything. If you want to make sure it go ahead and saves it, then you need to add an action. And what kind of action is? You can just say here that I wanted to go ahead and display the save here. So you can go ahead and display the save here. So now if I go back here, and if I go ahead and change this to Priyanka, now if I go ahead and save this, it'll actually save and create that particular account for me. Are you getting my point here? So it actually went ahead and created that, replaced that account object with this one, and it has basically has all the similar contacts and just replaced the name of that account. Okay, so this input field is responsible. So if I go back here, apex/Deepika ID is equals to this. Okay, so now this is what it is doing. So the save button is actually went ahead and saved that account information. So this input field is to input something. Okay, means to get the input from the user. That is the purpose of this particular input field. Okay, are you following? Okay, so now next thing is, okay, adding and customizing your input field. Okay, so basically see here, if you wanted to display something like, see, this looks a little ugly, right? It just gives you, it does not tell you what this field is for. Is this field is for account name, or is this for account number, or is what it is for? You don't, it doesn't tell you, okay, this is a number or nothing. Okay, it does not give you that much information. It just says, okay, this is a text field, there are two text fields, whatever value you put, and then you finally realize, oh, this goes into the name of the account and this goes into the number of the account. You have no idea from the field itself what it is for. So you can go ahead and make it a little more cleaner here by doing something like this. So if you go back here, let me increase the size. So you're using the same account controller, you have a form here, page block, we can say change it to quick edit. If you wanted to go ahead and say quick edit, and I wanted to go ahead and display that particular contact, okay, and the name of that particular contact. So if you go ahead here, you're using a contact instead of using the account. Now I'm using another standard controller called as the, why didn't it saved it? Oh, because you're kind of using all this information. because you're using a contact here. So let me go to the contacts here, get another ID here, and then get the ID of that particular contact. Okay, so now this is the Tim. We are going to go ahead and edit this particular contact. Okay, so now let's go ahead and tell him to show different values here. So let me go ahead and add a different. We have already seen what is a page block, and we have done it in the last class, a page block section. So we're just going to go ahead and make it a little more cleaner here. So you can say page block section, and inside of this page block section, you're going to go ahead and create a title. I'm going to go ahead and display the contact details. That's the title. Just going to have one column, means I'm not going to have multiple. I'm just going to have one column here. So if you go back here, there's only contact details. This is the page block I've created. The name of that particular page block section is contact details. It's one column, means only going to be one thing here. Now inside of this page block section, let's say I wanted to get an input from the user, and you say it here as input field. Okay, and now in the input field, you go ahead and provide the value here, and you call it as you wanted to display the contact phone number. So now you will see, okay, the phone number is this one, and this is your number. In the previous example, what we did was we just gave ahead and say input field value is equals to this, but it did not have the label for it. Okay, by default it did not have the label, whereas for the contact object is going to have, it has a label associated with it. So that's why it displayed the phone as well as with the what is the particular contact phone number. Similarly, if you wanted to go ahead and get the output from the user, means if you want to display something to the user, you can say output field value is equals to, so if you wanted to go ahead and display the value of that, contact dot of mobile phone. So if you want to display what's the mobile phone here, you can go ahead and display it, and you can represent the label, means the label you can say how it should say. You can say mobile number, and this is going to be the mobile number. So it's going to say here, if you wanted to change this to something else, the label is going to go ahead and change to that one. Okay, so this is the label, which is basically displaying this value. And output field is nothing but output field you will not be able to edit. Input field you will be able to edit it. Okay, so this is an input field, you are able to change it, and if this is the output field, you can only display it. It is only for the purpose of display. Okay, similarly, if you wanted to get the input text, so let's say there is a field available to get so it will show you a text field here, and the value, whatever you're going to enter in that text field, it will go ahead and store under the contact email. Okay, so it will only give you a contact email text field, it will give you here, and the label for the contact, you can go ahead and say Okay, so this is going to be Tim's email. Okay, so this is the email of Tim. So now if this is you have added a particular page block here. So you're getting the input field, mobile number, and you have a place to put the email address. So whatever you're going to type in here, it's going to go ahead and store it in the email field of the contact. Now, it's not going to save it until you hit the save button, until you do a save action on it. So what we're going to do is, let's go ahead and create another buttons. Means if you wanted to go ahead and make it a little more cleaner, you have a, just like a page block sections, you have a section to put the buttons also. So you can go ahead and say page block buttons here, and inside of this page block button you can go ahead and define a button here, just like we did it in the previous example. And it goes and give you the action for this is nothing but do a simple save, which we did in the earlier class also. So you just go ahead and say, do a save here on this one. The value for the button means the label of the button or the name of the button is hit me, let's say. Okay, this is the button here to do the save. So now there is a button, the name of the button is hit me here. Okay, this is the name of the button, hit me. And now you will see that it's going to be, it's what it is going to do once you click on that button, it's going to go ahead and show you it'll go ahead and save that particular stuff for you. Okay, getting it? Okay, similarly, this is to get the text field. This is a text you want. If you want a checkbox, you have a checkbox. If you want a area, you will have a text area, something like this. So instead of input text, if I do something called as apex input text area, let's see what happens. So it'll give me a bigger, like it'll give me something like this. It'll give me a text area. Okay, if you change it to a different field, it is going to give me a different way. Okay, so what it is here, it is doing, you have created a button here called hit me. What is that button doing? The action of the button is going to save that particular information. Now this is going to go ahead, this particular thing, if you change anything here, it will go to the phone number field. If you change, you cannot change anything on mobile number because it's an output field. It is only for the purpose to display. Input field is basically to get the input from the user. Then you have an input text area, means you're going to have a bigger place to write. So that is also going to take the input from the user. And then you have a button which basically saves when you click on that particular button. Got it? Okay, so now remember, do you know what are the dependent pick list and those pick lists? Have you talked, if you know Salesforce administrator, then you know what is a pick list. Okay, so similarly, like dependent pick list. Remember, you have, if you remember, there are a couple forms. It asks you first for what country are you from. So it will have your list of countries like United States, India, Canada, UK, etc. And then they'll have, once you pick India from there, and then there's another field that will ask you which state in India. So it'll only show you the list related to the Indian states. So it's not going to show the states from UK or US. So those are called dependent pick list. Means like that particular value depends on the controlling field. So if I go back, I think there is a recruiting application. So if you go to this one, let's say if you go ahead and click on the position object here, let's say this is my custom object. Okay, so here in the function area, you see there is an information technology. Now, if there's of information technology, the job levels are IT 100, IT 200, IT 300, IT 400. Now, if I go back here and let me go ahead and create a non-IT record type. So here, if the function area is, let's say, human resources, the job level is HR 100, HR 200. If you change it to finance, job level is going to be FN 100, FN 200. So this particular level, this particular field is getting controlled by this functional area field, right? Here, if you change it to retail operations, it's going to go ahead and give you the information related to retail operations. So this is called as a dependent picklist. And who is controlling it? This functional area is the one which is controlling it. So this is called as a controlling field. Have you done this before, Priyanka? Okay, so similarly, let's go ahead and add the same kind of stuff in our account object. So if I go back to my account object, I don't think there is a dependent and in pick list or something. So if you go ahead and do prospect, industry is this. Okay, let's change this to customer direct. Industry still remains same. So it's kind of, there is no dependent or independent. So what we can do here is, you can go ahead and create a new pick list. Okay, so if you go back here, view fields, create a new, we pick as a pick list here. Okay, and then the value for the pick list is, let's say, name of the field is called subcategories. Okay, that is the subcategories here, and the values, we can say these are the list of the values that we have. Okay, so you have apple farms, cable, cornfields, internet, radio. These are just some picklist values to pick from. Okay, so don't worry about it. And then click next and hit the save button. Okay, visible, let's do visible to all. Click next here. And hit the save and new button. Okay, so now let's just go ahead and click the cancel here. Now here, what we do here is, let's go ahead and click on the field dependencies here. So let's go ahead, there is a field dependency I wanted to create a new field dependency. So there is already a field called industry available, so I'm going to go ahead and click on controlling field is the industry, and a subcategory is nothing but the one that I created. That will be the dependent field here. So industry and the subcategories. So what will happen here is, so you see these agriculture, banking, biotechnology, chemical, etc. Right? So let's say for agriculture, I make apple farms. Okay, cornfields. Let me just get rid of this. Why can't I get rid of this? Include values here. Then okay, so this is these are the values for this one. Okay, then you have, let's say, there is another one here called as view all. Let's say for communications. Okay, for communications, let's say cable is the one that I'm going to go ahead and include. So cable, I'm going to include radio, television, and internet. So these are my dependent one. Okay, so we don't have to worry about the rest of those. So these are so go ahead and click OK here. So now you know that if you go to the accounts here, if you create a new one, if you pick an industry of type agriculture, there is a field called subcategory that is going to give you apple farm, cornfields, winery. If you go ahead and pick something else, let's say you picked up communications, and it's going to give you the cable, internet, radio. And for rest of those, it does not matter. There is nothing called as find subcategories for those ones. Okay, so now you have created a pick list and a dependent, like you've created a dependent and a controlling field here. Okay, so which is called subcategories, and then an industry was already there. So how are you going to go ahead and display something like this? Okay, if you want adding the dependent fields to a particular page, how are you going to go ahead and do this? How are you going to display this? Okay, this is a little different than the usual one. So let's go ahead and talk about it. So far, you following what we did? We just created we added a particular pick list here, and then we made it a we made it a dependent field on the industry field. Okay, so we have industry, and then we have subcategories. So if in the industry, if the user picks agriculture, he has subcategories of 3: apple, binary, and cornfields. If he picks industry of communications, he has television, radio, internet, etc. as the subcategories in that one. So similarly, now we're going to go ahead and display these on the page. So let's first create a page, and we call it as dependent pick list page. Okay, so we go ahead and create a dependent pick list page here. Okay, the page does not exist, so we're going to go ahead and create one page here. This depends on the so we have a standard controller here. Okay, now the standard controller, I'm going to go ahead and use the account object. Okay, so this is my account object that I'm going to use, and I'm going to go ahead and create a form page here. Okay, inside that, let me go ahead and add a page block just to make it a little more nicer. Can you make it hot? Can you just put it over 1 minute more?
It's hot, touch it.
No, it's not.
Touch it.
Thanks. So you have page block here, and mode is edit. Means you will be able to edit it. Okay, if you wanted to go ahead and edit it, the mode is going to be edited. Inside that, I'm going to go ahead and add the buttons. Just bear with me. You know all these tags now. You know what each of them are doing right now. Okay, inside of this, I'm going to add a button here. So the tag to add a button is the command button. Action is going to go ahead and edit the particular, action will be save. The same save that we have seen. Okay, and what is the label on that? You can just say it as save. If you want to change it, you can change it too. So this is my okay, so now what it has done is it has added one on the top, one on the bottom. Okay, so these are the two. This is if you have added in the top, it is going to go ahead and do it on the two places. Now here, next thing is we're going to have another section here, which is called as the Apex page block section. Okay, and if you want to title the section, you can say here as title of the page is called as dependent. Are you finding it interesting, Priyanka? Let's make it as 2 columns. Okay, so you're going to have 2 columns here once we start adding information. So the first column will have Apex input field value. The first column we're going to go ahead and display is the industry. Okay, so how you're going to get the hold of the industry? By using the industry tag here. That's the API name, you can always fetch it off. Okay, that's the industry. It will give you all the industry you have. And then if you're going to go ahead and if you wanted to go ahead and display the other field that we just created, apex input field, value is equals to the value of that particular field. Okay, so how you're going to get the value of the field? If you go ahead and go to the account object, and if you do a view fields here, it has created the subcategories, and this is the API name, and this is the name we need to use here. So we're going to go ahead and say account.of subcategories. Okay, so now this is your subcategories page here. Okay, so now because it's 2 column, that's why. If you change it to 1, then it's going to be one below the other. Since you change it to 2, then it's going to give you 1 here, the other one is going to be on this side. So now if you change agriculture here, it's going to give you the fields. If you change it to anything else which we have not specified the subcategories, it's going to go you and show you the empty one here. Okay, so this is how it's going to go ahead and look like. Okay, so if you go back here, if you go ahead and change April, so it's not going to display anything here. It's going to go ahead and say, okay, for this particular account, Apple Farms is the subcategory. So now if you go ahead and pick that particular account object, if you go ahead and say whatever the ID was, let me go ahead and get that particular. So right now in Priyanka's industry has not been specified, it's energy. Okay, and then there is a subcategory. Let's see what happens here. Okay, so if I go back and get this object here and display here, now for this Priyanka, I'm going to go ahead, right now it's energy, I'm going to change it to agriculture, and I'm going to make it Apple Farms. So go ahead and hit the save button. Now what will happen is it'll go ahead and update the industry to agriculture, and the subcategory that will be, where is subcategory? Do you see subcategory? Oh, it's here, Apple Farms. Okay, so here this is how you can just show it's similar to the one that we see, but this is a different way. Like, okay, it's going to go you in 2 columns, and it is going to go ahead and display in this particular, let me go back to that particular page here, apex/dependent Picklist. Okay, so is it okay if you leave early today? Because tomorrow I'm going to go ahead and start with the Visualforce dashboard components. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at those. Basically, those are related to the different for the custom objects, right? So far we have taken a look at the standard objects. Now we're going to go ahead and look at the custom objects and see how they can be used and how we can do what we can do with those. Okay, so I think you are the only one who's available. Everyone else has already left. Probably they just have it there. Okay, anything else? So now you know how to play around with this, play around with these tags that we discussed today. You can take a look at, you can always go ahead and Google Visualforce tags, and you will get an idea on tags or whatever. If you want to go, and it'll give you the list of all the tags, get the examples, and go ahead and list those examples and do a play around with it. Okay, so you will get a better understanding of what each of them is doing. Anything else, Priyanka? Okay, okay, I'll see you tomorrow. Please be on, please can you, is it okay if you do it on? Yeah, it is, because in Apex, it's here, it's more like learning. You just have to remember a couple tags, but in Apex you have to, that comes with a little practice. Okay, if you have a little practice on programming, that's also easy. Okay, so will you be available at 8 tomorrow? Okay then, Priyanka, thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow and have a good rest of the weekend. Bye. See you.